All right, everybody, we are back in video 2 for today. So this is for our level 2s, level 3s, and higher. Once again, you should have already completed the first video and moving on to this one. So the last video was about a 40-45 minute workout, going through all those basics and really kind of giving a little more detail, giving a good stretch routine, or limber up kicks at the end, working our stances, all that good fun stuff. Today in this video, what I wanted to do, we've heard from a number of students, either them or their parents, kind of letting us know how sad they are that there isn't a sparring class going on last week or this week. And I know there's a lot of you out there that are probably not real sad that you're missing out on some of those sparring classes, but what I wanted to do in this video is to give everyone some of my favorite techniques to use in our sparring. Again, this is more for, kind of building up our continuous sparring, our point fighting. They're techniques that really help us to be able to get in and get a good quick hit on the other person, maybe score a point if it's in a tournament, or just kind of be able to stick them with the technique in a continuous round. Again, this is not full contact fighting of any kind here. That would kind of change what we're doing quite a bit differently. But these are some fun techniques. These are the ones, some of, like I said, my favorites to use. So we're gonna start out with a technique that I call a drift. So on this one, basically what we're utilizing is the firing line. So everybody and all kinds of different styles of martial arts will give it a different name. Firing line is just what we call it here in a lot of the schools that we work with. And the idea of the firing line, for those that don't know what it is, which if you're watching this video and you don't know what the firing line is, then probably not the video for you. But anyways, just to review it, I'm using a Wave Master today, both as a something that I might use to balance as I demonstrate technique. I'll also be kind of throwing techniques against it so you can kind of see what they're used for, kind of how they're done against an opponent. So if you happen to have a Wave Master at home, then you are more than welcome to go ahead and move that guy over. Just hit pause on this video real fast, get that bag on over, and then let's train with it. If you don't have one, not a big deal. You really don't need one for today's training. So a drift, firing line first. So we gotta pretend like my opponent here has got arms and it's not just a punching bag here. But the idea of the firing line is my opponent sticks out their front hand, I stick out my front hand, and when our knuckles are touching and our arms are at full extension, that's what we call the firing line. And basically what that means is if I throw a front hand technique, a backhand technique, or a front leg technique, I cannot hit them without taking at least one step to be able to get them. Same for them. They can't hit me with their front, their back hands, or their front leg. Now from here though, if I throw a back leg, I can get to my target. The thing is, we're not worried so much about the back leg and being that close, because it's very, very difficult to get a back leg technique to hit the person and them not see it coming and be able to move out of the way or get a block up there for something, right? So we're okay being close enough for that back leg, but we want to always be just outside of the reach of the fastest techniques they have. So my drift is actually using that principle against my opponent, because we train a lot to hold that firing line. So if we're on the firing line and let's say I step backwards, then this person is trained to move forwards to stay right there on that firing line with me. If I was to take a step forwards, then my opponent would move backwards one step. So again, they're not letting me get in close to be able to hit them, and they're holding that firing line. And so what I do with my drift is I kind of use it almost like an optical illusion. I want to make it look like I'm taking a much bigger step backwards, and this is what we call drawing them in, because I can hit this person one of two ways. I can either move closer and attack, or I get them to come to me. And if I can get this person to come towards me, then it makes my job attacking a whole lot easier. Because when they're moving, the last thing they're really thinking about is defending. So the way my drift works is all I'm doing is really stepping backwards. However, I want to make it as big as possible, not in the step, but my body movement. So when I do a drift, I typically will kind of really swing my leg around and even lean back maybe a little bit. So now it looks like there's a huge gap between me and the other person. And when they take even one or 2 steps forwards to kind of regain the firing line, then that's going to leave me open to be able to then attack with something, a side kick, a back fist. We're going to play with a few different options here. So as we do this drift, and we're going to do it on both sides. So I got one side forward here, right? We're bouncing around, we're moving, we're in our stance, right? Now, what I'm going to do is, again, a giant C-step, kind of like we do in our forms when we get to like the middle point, and we do that swinging foot around to get to that next move. That's really what I'm using here. So while I'm moving, I'm moving with my partner, and I just drift back, right? And then we move forward a little bit, especially if you got a bag there. Now I go the other way, bouncing, right? And then again, I drift back, and I really like to swing this leg wide to really kind of make them want to move in, right? And let's do a couple more each side. So we're right here, and we drift, boom, right? We move around a little, and then we drift. One more time each side. We're moving around, and we drift. And then we go one more time, last one, and go. So that's the basic principle for this first set of techniques. So what we're going to start off with is for all my punchers out there. So with this one, what we're doing is a drift into a back fist. All right? So our deal is once I drift backwards, this foot is kind of set up to really spring me forwards right at the opponent. So while they're kind of moving in to close that distance up and to get back on the firing line, that's when I'm attacking. So the idea behind this one is, again, I do that big drift and I'm leaning back here a little, and then as soon as I see them coming in to close that distance, I push hard off of this, I lean forwards, and I get that good back fist in. Now, we're on this side, let's go the other way. So again, I drift, kind of set up on this side, and then from there, as soon as they start to commit, I push off, I spring forwards, and I hit that back fist there. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, they'll move right away with you. So as soon as you drift, you're coming right back in and hitting them. Other times, they're a little hesitant. So sometimes I come back and I'm here and I'm waiting a little bit, and then they say, oh, he's not doing anything, and so they start to come in, oh, and then we go. So you get to play with that at home a little bit. So you can do it immediately, you can pull back on the drift, hold it for a second, and then spring. But whatever you do, try to work faster and a little more hesitation. Because again, you're going to use both in a sparring match. So you want to be ready to use it in any way or any scenario that you find it in. All right? So let's just do a few on each side, then we'll change our technique. So from here, oh, and by the way, you're using a push step. We go from here. Once I do this, I push step into that hip. So here we go. Let's just do 3 on each side. So you can bounce, you can be stagnant, whichever you choose to do. Bouncing, obviously, a little better and kind of more advanced training, right? So we're moving, ready, and drift back fist, and go. Then we're on the other side, and we go. And we go. And then go. Just like that. Here we go. Last time each side, everybody. Ready? And we're moving. And drift. Go. And last time, moving. And we drift. Just like that. So, that's a drift back fist. We can do the same thing for my kickers out there. We can do it as a side kick. So with that one, again, we drift, lean over, and then from there, I'm doing a push step still, but I'm gonna put a side kick in before this foot lands. So I push, boom, and I just push that side kick right into the belly. All right, and then we go the other way. Same idea, we drift, and then we push, pow. We just get that good side kick. Now, sometimes that person, when you drift, they start coming at you. So if that happens and you drift back, sometimes you just need to lift and put the side kick out, and they're already right there for it. So I like to, especially because I got a bag and it's not moving towards me, so I like to get that little bit of a slide in so that way I'm ready for anything. If they're not right there, I can slide in and get them. Or if I drift back and they're already, whoo, pow, then I just stick that side kick out. So here we go. Let's do just a few on each side. Here we go, and drift, and side, and the other side, and drift, and side, and we reset, ready, and drift, and side, and the other way, drift, and side. Last one each side, and we drift, and side. Last one, drift, and side. Good. Now, the other thing we can do is we can use a technique first and then drift afterwards. So this is what I call the hook kick drift. It's one of my favorites to do. I like to mess with people quite a bit on this one. So what we do is we're just kind of standing and we throw our front leg hook kick. However, what I'm not going to do is go hook and set it right back down in front. What I want to do is pull it all the way back behind me. So now what I'm doing is I throw my hook kick, and a weight master is a good thing because I can really train just what I call the wipe. And what I'm doing is just slightly swiping my foot across. I can hit hard when I come in with my hook. Pow! I can hit fully onto the bag, or I can just barely wipe across it. Okay, and so when we do this now, we do going for the wipe, because if you hit all the way on, that leg is going to come back this way. You won't be able to do the drift with it. So just that wipe and then set it behind. So we come up, we go wipe, and we pull it back behind us. Now, when they see us do that, in their mind, they think that we've taken a bigger step back, and a lot of times, they feel like that's a good time to attack. And that's exactly what I want them to do. I'm not really trying to hit them with the hook kick. Really what I'm doing is just an elaborate way of kind of sucking them into my danger zone. So from here, we're gonna go hook kick, set it behind, then we're just gonna bump up and go the other side. So let's go 3 on each side. So I'm standing in nice and close. I'm gonna throw that hook kick, wipe, set it down behind me. Then I'm just gonna bump up a little bit, wipe, and set it back behind me. That was a little more than a wipe, wasn't it? Here we go, and then we go the other side. Just a little bump up, and wipe, set it down, bump up, wipe, set it behind, bump up, wipe, set it behind. Last one, wipe, set it behind you. All right, so those are 3 of my favorite drifting techniques to use. You can do that with reverse techniques. I can kind of drift back and then boom, come with a reverse side, a wheel kick. I could shuffle jam out of that. There's a lot of techniques you can do with it, but those are 3 of my favorites just to build and learn the technique, and then you can mix those guys together too. One of my favorite things to do in a sparring match is to go hook kick and bring it back behind me, and then as soon as they come in with that good back fist, and I always throw my cross in there with that back fist. So I come in back fist, and then I'll throw that cross underneath. So one of my favorite point fighting techniques. And then same with the other one, I could do a hook, set it behind, and then come in with a good side kick. I can do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So that's our advanced sparring technique number 1 for today. Now I got a few others that these are literally some of the biggest and most fun techniques that I like to throw. So we're gonna start out with one that I get people on all the time. And it's a fake hook kick that goes to a side kick. So we're gonna practice the technique, then I'm gonna take you through the setup. How do we use it in a sparring match? So the way the technique works, again, with these guys, the bigger motions you make, the more you are going to get this to work. If you're making small motions with your legs, if you're not doing that big swoop drift, you're really not going to get them to do what it is that you're trying to get them to do. So you really are an actor or an actress with this situation. You're really trying to sell them that you're doing one thing, all the while you're setting them up for something completely different. So our fake hook kick, so once we do the setup, it'll make a whole lot more sense. But what I'm gonna do is really kind of make a big motion with this leg. So I'm really kind of throwing the worst hook kick possible. That's really what I want them to think, okay? And so what I'm doing is really lifting my leg and pulling it in, right? And what that does is as soon as I do it, it's gonna set me up to have a really solid side kick at a lower level. So I get the idea. What I'm going for is I lift big and then tuck in, and that's when I extend. So from here, if I'm doing it against the back, I go up and I stick it. All right, let's do that a couple more times. So we go up and we stick. All right, and you can see what kind of power we get off of this. Because of the momentum I'm getting when I lift that leg up, I'm not stopping it, I'm just changing the momentum, wow, right into that side kick. This is a super devastating technique if you put everything you got into it. So let's go one more time on this leg, and then we'll try it on the other leg. Here we go. So one more, we big lift, side, ready, and go. Big and side. Now let's go the other side. So we're going same thing, nice big lift, stick the side 3 times, ready, and big and side. Ready, and big and side. One more, and back. All right, now, let's look at the setup on this guy. Now, the setup that I like to use is I throw a few big hook kicks towards the head. And really what I want to do is I want to throw the hook kicks at their head, let them see how fast and how kind of scary that hook kick can be as it goes right by their head. And as I do that, what we start to do is get them to kind of start raising the hands, because you really can't block a hook kick with one arm. You really kind of got to either get the heck out of the way, which is the better choice, or you got to get, kind of both hands up to really mount a good defense against it. So that's what I'm hoping for, is as I throw that fake hook kick, I want their hands to come up and I want them to lean back a little. Because once they do that, you can see this area of the body opens wide open. And so that's where that leg changes, tucks in, and there's nothing they can do. And you could just kind of set your foot right on the ribs. If it's a tournament, it's obvious you just got those 2 points. If it's a continuous match, you get them in the ribs. There's nothing this guy can say that you didn't get them. And if you were in a real life scenario, this could really put the other person on their butt and help you to get away. So the setup, the way I like to practice is I go 2 hook kicks and then I do the actual technique. So we're just kind of set up, right? And we're moving, or you go 1, boom, right? Moving around, right? And then we go again, 2, right? And hopefully at this point, they're a little nervous of it, right? We're moving, and that's where we come in that 3, all right? By the way, I use this on Mr. Fight quite often, and he hates it. So this might be a good technique for you against Mr. Fight. So we go the other side. Here we go. We go big hook, and then fake hook into the side. Here we go. Moving around, and we go hook, right? Moving around, and hook, boom, right? And then, now we set it up. Shoot, pow. All right, let's go one more each side with the setup. We're right here, moving, right? Get that active footwork in there, and we go. Pow, nice big hook, right? Big hook, and woohoo! Set them on up. And last one, other side. Here we go. Move, and hook. Whoo, got him on that one. And hook, and set him up. All right, I will tell you, that is probably my favorite sparring technique. I use it all the time, and it works beautifully. So now, let's go to one that I really enjoy using, and this one is what we call the delayed switch round. So, when we do a switch round, now again, I said at the beginning of this video, we're not generally too worried about that back leg because it's really difficult to get the back leg all the way to the opponent without them seeing it and without them reacting to it. So this, a switch round, is one of the ways that you can get a back leg to make it to your opponent before they have any time to do anything about it. Because we make it an explosive motion, right? Most styles, as they go back leg round or a back leg kick, they kind of, and if it hits, it's devastating. It is powerful, it is mean, and you don't want to get a technique like that landed on you. So as we do this, but they're kind of slow, and you can see the whole body moving, right? As soon as I start to turn, that's when this person's gonna start to react, right? And so with our switch rounds, right, I'm just here and I go quick, right? And most of the time, by the time they realize what it is you're doing and they try to react, your foot's already there. You train those switch rounds right, and it makes your back leg an actual useful technique. So with this one, again, it's building off of making them nervous, all right? So we've thrown a few back leg rounds and things at them, doing those switch rounds, and so people, again, just like the hook kick, they start to react to it. Especially as people get nervous about getting hit by a technique like that, then they start to make bad reactions, raise the hands, close the eyes, turn the head away, and that's when we really can make the delayed switch round happen. So the delayed switch round is doing everything just like a normal switch round, however, we delay the kick. So the idea is, when I come through, I push through, I do everything just like normal, I push, and I don't quite throw the kick right away. And it's just a split second delay. We kind of up, kick. So the idea is we go here, what it looks like is, again, we push off that back leg, we come up, and then we throw that kick, right? So we come up, whoop, now, what this does is when the other person starts to react, they see that leg coming, and they react, and then they don't feel anything. And they say, what happened? And as their hands come down and they start to investigate, that's when we come through with that leg. It's a whole lot of fun to do, and it always makes me giggle a little bit, because the other person always tends to be just a little bit like, oh, I can't believe I fell for that. And a lot of times, have no idea what it is that you did. So it's a lot of fun to do, so let's get to it. So as we go through, again, our practice for this setup is, throughout the match, we gotta set this up. We gotta throw some regular full rounds. We gotta get them to start reacting to them, right? So as we're moving, right, I always practice 2 setups and then the actual technique. So we go from here, we're moving around, right? That back leg comes out, big full round, whoo, and we come all the way back through. Let's do that again, nice and fast, nice and big, whoo, and we come all the way back. And then now we do the delay. So we're moving, right? We come up, and we get that little, and again, just a small hesitation is all you need, because it's not like they hold this for a really long time. they just kind of and come right back up. So that little split second is all you need. So we go with the other side, same idea. Big full round twice, and then we'll hit them with that delayed switch. So we're moving, and nice and big, whoo, coming back around, moving around, just like you would in a match, right? We go again, wow, and we're back. And then now, the actual setup, delay it, and we get them. All right, so those are two of my absolute favorites. I love using the drift. I love using that fake hook into the side kick, and finally that delayed switch. So just a few advanced sparring techniques for all my people out there that are just so missing their sparring. So now you got a few techniques you can train, work on your own, and then when this is all over and we're back at it, you can maybe surprise a few people out there. So hope you had a good workout from the last video, got a little sweat going from this one, and more importantly, learned some pretty cool stuff to again, bring back into your sparring game. So, hope you're having a great time at home, hope you're keeping busy, and we'll see you on the next video.